right, everyone, it's time for another episode of the Actual Fluency Podcast. And today I'm joined again by Lindsay Dow from Lindsay Does Languages. And Lindsay was on the podcast 2 years ago, so we're going to catch up with her and see what's been going on with her and her language learning business. But Lindsay, how are you doing today?
I'm very well, very busy, but happy. Busy is good, I think.
Yeah, definitely. It shows that you've got stuff going on, right? So
Yeah,
that's a good
absolutely.
thing. So as I was just saying to the listeners, you were on the podcast episode 8 back in May of 2014. So, I mean, in internet years, that's about 10 years, right?
That's insane. And what episode number is this?
8. I don't know.
Like 80 plus?
Yeah, probably 82.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
So it's been a few episodes since then, but so basically, for those, maybe you just want to give a quick introduction to yourself for people who haven't stumbled across your blog or your YouTube channel or Snapchat, Instagram. You're all over the place. Pinterest. If somebody, for some unknown reason, haven't stumbled across you, could you just give a little explanation on what you do, who you are, and how you got into this?
Absolutely. So, hello, my name's Lindsay, and my business is Lindsay Does Languages. So I blog, I make videos, I teach, and I learn languages as well at LindsayDoesLanguages.com, primarily. But as you say, all the social media and the YouTube and everything is as is necessary nowadays. How did I get into it? So we were just talking about this before we went live. Lindsay Does Languages actually started in 2012, and initially it was private tuition-based business. So I would teach people one-on-one in their homes. I had some evening classes as well, and also I taught at a bread factory. I taught a lot of their workers English during the daytime. So I had this. It was a good time, you know, lots of fun, lots of variety, English, French and Spanish, from sort of 3-year-olds to 60-year-olds and individuals to groups, and real fun, real variety. But then in 2014, well, I suppose the end of 2013, my partner started to study for a PGCE, which is the UK sort of teaching qualification. So we knew that, okay, wherever you get a job, we're going to have to move there. And so I thought, well, okay, how can I do this? I don't just want, I've set up this business, but it's very local based. It's based on me being here. You could get a job and it's anywhere. So I wanted to move my business online slightly, just so that I had some income when we moved. I didn't just have to lift up and pretty much start afresh. And so that's why I started the blog. So I started blogging. I had the website, like I had, and it was only ever, it was like, I think when we first spoke, it was like LindsayDoesLanguages.wordpress.com, and that was it, because it was like, well, it's a local business, no one's really going to look at the website. And now that sounds ludicrous, but even 4 years ago that was just like, yeah, it's fine. You can get away with that. And so yeah, so it was just, I had this website. It was just very simple. And then I thought, well, I can blog on this website. I should just start to write about language, so people know if they want to have me as an online tutor, they know that I'm real and that I care about this and I know what I'm talking about. So I did. I just started to write about language for that simple reason, to just promote myself as a tutor in an online space rather than locally. So it was really, like we said, it was kind of the marketing of posters and leaflets through doors for the local side just turned into the website and the blog, and then the video followed shortly after, and here we are.
And now you're everywhere, which we'll get into in a moment. But how did you make that transition from local tutor to online tutor? And were there any sort of struggles or challenges in the beginning? Because I can imagine those are quite different things, aren't they?
Oh my goodness, yes. So it is a very different job, I guess. It's a very different teaching environment. And I get a lot of emails from people saying, oh, I teach and I want to start teaching online and I don't know where to start. And it's like, I don't blame you, because it's not easy. There is a big difference. And I think one of the main things is the resources. So over those first 2 years, I built up a huge collection of teaching resources, kind of mostly because I was teaching the 3 languages. They were mostly resources that I could use for multiple languages. So kind of like, you know, I had obviously language specific things like flashcards and whatever and things, but a lot of games. So things like Boggle that you could just, it's just letters. And I could, you know, I wasn't teaching something like Chinese where they were different. You know, the letters were the same in English, French, and Spanish, or are the same, I should say. Yeah. So So I had all these resources for face-to-face lessons that I then couldn't use. You know, I couldn't be like, right, get excited. I'm going to have the fun of spinning the boggle and picking the letters, and then I'm going to hold it up to the camera. That's not going to work.
Right.
So, you know, that is a big difference. But I feel like actually now, even more so than when I started, it's just easier and easier to adapt your resources to become an online tutor. But I feel like one of the biggest struggles is kind of the promotion and the marketing and the advertising yourself, and doing that kind of successfully enough to get noticed, because there are a lot of people doing it, and you do have to stand out. You do have to find your niche and find kind of what makes you special. Why would someone want to study with you when there's 15 other English teachers that have come up on the same Google search, you know? So yeah, it's a fine art.
You can go to italki now, and there'll be, I mean, how many thousands of people teach English? It's incredible. But what I think is that, yeah, it's a kind of a busy marketplace, and there's a lot of competition. But also, if you do anything to stand out like you did, it doesn't have to be like a blog, or you can do a lot of things to stand out. As soon as you stand out, you'll be head and shoulders above the rest, I think.
Absolutely.
And
like you say, it can just be one thing. Like, for example, okay, so I'm doing a webinar with Gabby Wallace this Saturday. So she, to me, stands out as being YouTube. Like, her YouTube channel is amazing. I think she has probably maybe even like 100,000, I think, over 100,000 subscribers. Fantastic YouTube channel, really good videos, really great content. And I feel like the key with that, and then another example would be Jennifer Nascimento, for example, who teaches English outside the box, and she is big on Instagram. So she uses Instagram to take pictures of her life. But then, for example, junk mail was one I saw this morning, where she's taken a picture of all her junk mail, address hidden, obviously, but then she's talked about junk mail and, you know, where it comes from, what it means, how you might use it in the description. So they then create this audience like, oh, you're giving me all this free content. And I think that's crucial as well, to give people, you want to be a giver, not a taker.
Yeah.
You want to come across as that. So yeah. But I mean, for me personally, like, that transition was not too bad because there was a lot of overlap. So from kind of summer of 2013, I think that's when I first started to look at italki, and that began to become big, much bigger, I would say, from that point. Not just for me, I say in general, it's been growing constantly since then. But so I put myself on there, you know, ridiculously low price, and I had one student who I taught about 3 times a week. And it just fitted in at the time with all the bread factory English lessons and the private lessons. It fitted in really nicely. And then, you know, I had that basic experience to then build on. So then, rather than just be like, hello everyone, I teach online now. No, I built some experience, because it's not just about, okay, you may have 15, 20 years experience in a classroom, to then just go, flip, now I teach online. You're gonna need something. You're gonna need some experience. I mean, what I recommend is that people, you know, if you are, for example, in a classroom setting, or you're a student, or you're whatever, and you do want to get some experience in this, try it first. And you will be charging a very low price. You will not be getting paid what you're worth. But I feel like it is important to just give it a go, even if it's just for like a month, to just, you know, fit it in with your life and see, do I like this? Can I see this working? Can I figure out a way to create resources that will work? You know, can I figure out a way to promote myself well? And it is possible, definitely possible.
Yeah, and I think you touched on some good examples there, because once you start in a marketplace or anywhere really, you set your price much lower than you would imagine it to be finally, because then people come and try you out because they see, oh, this is a good deal. And it's beneficial for you because you can kind of test your methodology. You can build up your sort of routine to a point where when you have 25-star reviews, you'd be like, okay, guys, I think I'm worth a little bit more than $10 now. So you increase your price. And what I did that for Danish on italki, and I lost no students on that. I doubled my price within a few months. No students left. It was only when I increased my price 4 times that they started complaining, and I had to explain that I increased it so much because I don't want any students right now because I'm busy. So this is just, I mean, I don't have time, but if you want to pay me $40 an hour for lessons,
Yeah.
I'll find time for you. Don't worry.
Yeah.
So that was funny that, you know, at $10, I got a lot of tutoring requests, even for Danish, which is a small language. And then at $20, everyone was just like, yeah, well, you're worth it, because I'd done, let's say, 10, 15 lessons at the cheap price, all 5-star reviews. I had planned my lessons well. I'd found materials prepared, and I helped people outside the class. So I went above and beyond. And people are like, well, this is amazing. And so that attracted new students at the higher price as well. Of course, you need to stay true to yourself and provide the same service all throughout. I mean, you can't just start being amazing and then suddenly, oh, yeah, I got my students now, I can just slack off. You need to provide the same level of service every time. But I think most of the people listening to this show are quality driven. You know, they're serious about it. They're not just in it for the quick buck. So I don't think that would be a problem, but it's worth saying that you can't just start out and get all the reviews and then start slacking off, because, you know, reviews change all the time. If you don't have 5 stars on italki, I think your chances of getting students must be a lot smaller than if you have those 5 golden stars. I don't know if your experience is similar to that.
I think, yeah, and like you mentioned about the raising prices, that's a really interesting topic, because that's a very difficult thing to do. And in any business, but especially with online teaching, because you can't just say, like, if you're in a shop and you raise the price of a chocolate bar by like 5p each, no one's really going to notice.
Right.
But when you have a lesson and you feel like, well, the price now needs to raise by £5, you know, you can't just go, well, it's going to go up by £1 this year and £1 next year and £1 the next. You have to just do it once every however many years in like a bulk, kind of like, now you've been getting it cheaper for this long, now it's time to increase that price. And it's a very difficult thing to do, which is another reason why something like italki is a brilliant place to start, because it can give you that experience without that pressure of, oh, I'm going to lose all my students.
Right.
You know, like you said, no one dropped off with that initial price increase. So that's interesting.
You can also ask your students, what do you think is a fair price for the service I'm giving you? And a lot of students would say, I think you're too cheap. I definitely do. I still think, I've tried to tell my Russian tutor, who is a full-time tutor in italki, she's an amazing tutor. I've been trying to tell her for years that she's undercharging herself. And she's like, I'm really comfortable increasing my price and stuff like that. But I mean, she's just above and beyond, and, you know, always answers questions outside the lessons, and, you know, provides such a great lesson. And she's so very professional. She's doing it professionally. So, and she was charging, I think, $11 an hour. You know, that's after the italki cut, that's like nothing.
It's so difficult as well to see your worth as an online tutor sometimes. I mean, it's something that I'll be honest, in the beginning I definitely struggled with, because I had the face-to-face lessons, and I felt like, well, people are getting more from me in a face-to-face lesson because they're getting me face-to-face, and you feel like you're giving more, so you feel like, well, I can't increase the online price because that's not worth as much as that yet, and that price hasn't increased yet. Oh, so how does this work? But then I kind of realized, well, you know what, I'm spending as much time planning and preparing for these online lessons as I am for a face-to-face lesson. So it shouldn't be any different. And in fact, the reason why it's gone online, you know, it's much more of a benefit to me in terms of when I was face-to-face and I'd leave the house at, say, 3:30 p.m. I'd drive to the first lesson, I'd be there for half an hour, and then I'd drive to the next one, and then I'd drive to the next one. And hopefully, you know, it took me 2 years to get it to a point where things matched up beautifully to the, like, just 5 minutes between houses. But, you know, there was a time where it's like, right, you have the first lesson, half an hour. Next lesson, 20 minutes to the next house. And then, you know, and that's an hour of driving plus that you've lost that you could have been teaching. Whereas if you're online, you can just go one lesson, next lesson, boom, done. So there's that advantage that you have to kind of acknowledge, but then don't think, well, they're getting less for me because I'm not driving to the house. No, that you're getting more for you. You're worth something too, you know. And the student, it's difficult to see your worth.
And you don't have to pay petrol and coffees, or if you have in a cafe or something. So, well, anyway, I think we've given people a lot of help for tutoring, but the best thing is you can just get started. You know, just try it out. You don't have to overthink it. Just try it out. If you want to tutor, like I said, Swahili or whatever, go for it. I mean, there's people looking for every language on italki, I think. And some languages are obviously more crowded than others, but if you can stand above the crowd somehow, YouTube, blogging, Facebook, whatever it is, you have a good shot of making it, and set your price a little lower so you can attract people to review you, which is essentially what you need. You need confirmation that what you're doing is worth the price. So, so there you have it. And then it seems like you kind of took it to the next level. And you started looking into ways for which you can build the business in a way that doesn't require you to spend an hour to make some kind of money. It's not time for pounds anymore. So when did you start expanding into that, and how did you go about doing that?
Good question. I can't remember. I think what happened. So when I started the blog, I didn't really think this is a way to make money on the side. I just thought this is a way to promote myself for free. It just didn't really cross my mind. And then I think, okay, here's the thing. I made my first YouTube video. So the reason I started, it's funny, we've talked about italki for so long, because actually the very first video that I made for sort of Lindsay Does Languages was my italki presentation video to be a teacher on that.
Oh yeah.
So that was the first thing, and I got loads of good sort of comments and stuff like, oh, this is really cool. And then Ashley, my partner, he said to me, oh, you know what, you should make video, like put it on YouTube, get your YouTube channel going as part of this promoting yourself online. I was like, yeah, but I don't really know, and you'd have to edit it. Like, I knew nothing. I just knew that he had this fancy equipment that did stuff, that had a big screen with lots of tiny buttons and tools and gadgets and key codes or whatever, right? I was like, oh yeah, but you'd have to edit it all, and could you do that? And I wouldn't know how to I wouldn't want to touch the camera, and I don't know how I was and he said, that's fine, we can do it. I think it's going to be really good for you, for to promote yourself and everything. I was like, okay, let's give it a go. So I thought, well, what can I talk about? And I made my first the very first video on my YouTube channel is my italki pledge for the language challenge, where like I just filmed it on my old tiny laptop. It's like, hello, welcome, I'm going to speak German, really bad. But I was like, it's fine. It's the pledge. It needs to go out. And then the next video was like green screen, graphics, scripted, this total different level. Because I hadn't done any of it. I just wrote a script and said, I think I've got something, I'm ready to film it. And it was, if I remember rightly, it was What is Language was the first video. And then after that, I put that out. I put it sort of on, Twitter, oh, I've made a video, check it out. And a company got in touch with me and said, oh, we love your video. We'd love you to make some promotional videos for us. And I was like, what?
There you go.
You're kidding me. Yeah. So, and that didn't work out, but that was beside the point, because actually it was very valuable, because it made me realize, wow, this is something. Yeah. And, so then I thought, well, I guess the same thing can happen with the blog. So I initially began with I prepared a media kit, which, if you don't know, is something that you have if you're a blogger and you're looking to work with brands and other bloggers and things to promote yourself. So it just has details about your statistics, your blog stats, your views, who your readers are, and not specifically, not naming names to the people, but your sort of demographic of your readers and your prices and things for the services that you offer. And so I sort of put that together, and then people would begin to email me from companies like, oh, we'd love you to review our product, we'd love you to, and I did a few for free, because I thought, well, this is good. It saves me having to think of a topic for this week, or right. I'm just going to review this instead. That's nice. And then it just became a thing where I would then be like, well, no, I don't really just want to do reviews. And it seems wrong for you to pay for a review, but I don't want to do a review because I've got enough content planned. So if you want to have, the exposure, because essentially it's advertising that people, if you want to have that exposure, you're going to have to pay. So I began with sponsored blog posts and videos. And it's very difficult, because you have to stay true to your brand. So you're kind of, you're building yourself up as your own brand as well. And then you don't want to then just become a platform that's like a billboard.
Right.
So you want to build this, and it's fine. I think it's absolutely fine to work with brands and to have sponsored content. but you have to, there's a real fine line, I think, between just like, hey, oh my God, this is amazing, and this is really cool, I like it because of this, and here's a way you can use it, and giving something that's still valuable to a user, to a reader, sorry, and still satisfies. It's kind of a win-win-win, you know.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
I definitely agree. I think this is a very sensitive topic that I think in our industry, it's people are a little bit more defensive against sort of working with branding and having very, yeah, let's say branded posts in any way. And it's something that I had a bit of a phobia against on actual fluency for a long time, because I was like, I don't really want to, like you say, turn it into a billboard and stuff. But, you know, I eventually realized that we're in this together. You know, Asimil is not, yeah, they're trying to make money as all other companies, but they're also trying to make you learn a language better. So they're picking me up now. No.
Yeah, wow. And at the end of the day, as well, you have to remember that you are in control of your blog. This is your space. Yeah. So you're deciding if you want to work with a brand. It's going to be a brand that you know, you have to believe in it. You have to like the product that you're essentially promoting. So
let me ask you something. If somebody, or let's say if Rosetta Stone wrote to you, I don't know if they have, and they said, we'll pay you £100 for this if you review our product, what will you do?
I'd say, first of all, that's not enough. I'd say
well, it's the start of a negotiation, right?
Non-negotiable.
Oh, right. Okay. Well,
I would
say,
okay, so here's the thing. There are plenty of emails in my inbox that have been answered, because I will answer people, but have been very politely declined because I don't believe in the product, or I don't get it enough, or it doesn't fit with my brand. Because even if I get something saying, oh, we've got this amazing new, I don't know, Russian app. So Russian is a language I've never ever studied.
Right.
You know, I could say Spasibo do widzenia. Is that? I don't even know.
Yeah, it's close enough.
Right. So, you know, it's not a language that I've studied. So it would be totally random of me to then be like, here's me learning Japanese and Korean right now. Oh, look, there's an amazing thing for Russian. That's not going to be valuable. Right. And it might be that would be valuable to readers, because there's bound to be readers studying different languages. There's bound to be readers studying Russian.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't fit. You know,
so you just decline if it doesn't fit. Yeah, that's my philosophy.
Very politely decline, and I think that's important.
Like it, but okay. So let's say another problem that comes up if you're a blogger. Let's say you have decided to do some reviews, not paid, and you try out the software, the app, or whatever, and you find it quite underwhelming. Do you spend a lot of time writing a negative review, or do you say, you know what, I'll skip this one and go on to the next one?
Yeah, I feel like there's nothing valuable that can come from a negative review. It's much better for me to just say, sorry, this isn't right. Like,
that's interesting, because I thought it was...
Because, right, anyone can do a review now. If we're talking about an app, for example, anyone can go in. If something was really awful, and anyone could go in and just leave an app review and say, this is less than 1-star review, it's dire, I hate it, it's dreadful, it's the worst thing in the world, right? So anyone can do that. You can see the general consensus if you go on the App Store, if you go on to Amazon or whatever product it might be, right? So I feel like it's not fair as well for a brand to give me their product to try or to test out, and then for me to go, this is rubbish.
I don't know. It's a tough question, I feel like, because I feel like...
I tell you what, though, I would not let that get to that stage. So I would say, you know, I would say, okay, I'll need to have a look before I make a decision if I'm going to review. So, you know, I'd have a quick look and think, okay, we'll give it a little bit of time, we'll have a little look, and then I'd decide. And then, so I wouldn't say, yeah, I'll write a review, let me see it. Oh my God, this is awful. What do I do? I'd do it the other way around.
Yeah. But
to avoid that situation.
I don't know. The reason I ask is because I think that we kind of owe it to our audience to be absolutely honest. Of course, that goes without saying. But if we only review the things that we like, or only write about the things that we like, then it could give sort of a, I don't know, not the full picture in a way.
I see what you mean. I completely get that. I think,
like, if your listener might never have heard of Rosetta Stone before, right?
yeah.
So if you didn't write about it, he or she wouldn't know what to think at all, because he or she only follows Lindsay Does Languages and, you know, loves your stuff. But if you had a review that says, I really don't think Rosetta Stone is worth it, and we're not talking about slacking a company off completely. We're talking about a fair, balanced review saying, these are the good things, these are the bad things, but ultimately it's not good. I don't recommend it. If you didn't do that, that person would not have that education and might end up buying it. You know,
I can see your point, and I feel like that is fair if they haven't got in touch with you. And this is why I don't do reviews anymore. I'm just not going to go down that avenue, because it does get into this territory of like, you know, because I wouldn't want to give people bad press, but at the same time, like you say, I would want to give a full, honest opinion of a kind of across the board apps, materials, products, whatever. So I just don't do reviews now. If I'm going to do a sponsored post, and I don't, to be honest, one of my things for this year is to kind of work on it now that I've had that time where sorry, now I've had that time where I've been able to build kind of my business and grow it with income from sponsored posts and sponsored videos. I'm now looking to move away from that. So I feel like it's a great way to kind of, it's a great side of blogging, but it's something now that I have my own products,
right,
that it doesn't seem right to then be like, here's my thing, here's this other thing. It's then too much. So that's something that I'm moving away from this year. But I've forgotten what your original question was here, sorry.
Well, the discussion is fine. We're just, I guess we're just still talking about reviews, how to
reviews.
Generate a balanced, I guess, picture of the language learning world. Because if you go to any website, you'll definitely see reviews of like italki, Michel Thomas, Memrise, Anki, all these things that people love and use all the time. But that, to me, means that there's a bit of a shortage of the crappy stuff. And let's be honest, there are a lot of crappy stuff. But the dilemma is, if I make a review that says language X is terrible, that's the company name, is terrible, don't ever buy it. I mean, I'm creating a bad relationship between people who are trying to do good things in the industry. At least I hope so. I mean, some people are obviously trying to get a quick buck and try to sell really expensive stuff that's not worth it. But if these people are genuinely trying to create something good and they just failed, I'm now saying you're terrible. And if I then meet them at some language conference and stuff, it's going to be very awkward, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, you've kind of outlined exactly why I don't do reviews anymore, like I said, because
stay out of the way.
It just becomes this very kind of sketchy gray area of where do you draw the line, and you know, what do you say and not say. But I remember what my point was going to be. If I do work with brands, it's not on reviews, because one thing, I feel like it's unfair for a brand to pay for a company to pay for a review, because as I say, like, reviews are everywhere now on, you know, and I'm not talking about a blog length review, you know, but sometimes you just need that one line that says, this is amazing, buy it now, or this is awful, do not touch with a barge pole, right? You just need that one line and that's enough. But so if I've worked with brands in the past, I've tried to make it something that's more bespoke, so something that's more unique and still fits with my brand and is my voice. And, you know, like, I've had companies that have got in touch and said, oh, we'd love to work with you and blah, blah, blah. And you think, okay, let's see, here's media pack. And they say, brilliant, okay. What are your SEO stats? What are your SEO stats? And can we negotiate on the price? And as soon as they say things like, can we, and it's like, you don't know who I am. And I understand, you know, you're reaching out, you want to get exposure, you want to know the SEO stats, and that's fine. I have no problem to give someone the stats if we were going to work together in collaboration. But you still have to respect that this isn't just a platform. This is my platform.
It's your home.
You know? Yeah, there has to be that kind of acceptance of, you know, what you're doing, and it has to be your voice rather than just, we want this written. And, you know, I'm sure you've experienced this as well. Some brands can be quite demanding.
Annoying.
Yeah.
And can I just vent a little bit as well? Now we're on the topic. I fucking hate apps and translation agencies. And I'm sorry if you have a translation agency out there. I respect your work and stuff, but if you write an email saying, "Can I guest post on your site?" You know, don't do it. Just don't do it. You know, the thing is, like,
that's
even
a
if you
whole
have
other side, isn't it? Guest posting, like, it's
if you have like
you have to have a policy.
If you have the world's best translation agency, even if you did that, how am I supposed to know? I mean, I haven't ordered anything from you, so how can I endorse you like that? And
another one is language breaks. When people, when like you know, like, come to Spain to learn Spanish, come to Italy to learn Italian.
Yeah,
it's like, well, unless you're going to send me there, I can't endorse. You know, I can't work with you because I don't know what this is.
Yeah, and then there was a funny one recently I got. Maybe you got that as well. There's a Chinese company doing like tutoring, and they were like, "Yeah, we'll give you a month where you can try it." I'm like,
"You're not learning Chinese.
Give me a month of learning Chinese. What do I need that for? I mean, I'm a language learner, yes, but randomly changing the language I'm learning so I can.
That's what I was saying, right? About like me with just a random Russian post, it would be that.
Yeah.
And it's just, it has to fit. It has to still fit.
It's so funny. I was just imagining myself going through a month of Chinese tutoring just to evaluate the quality of their service. And it's like, so if you're out there, if you have a company, if you have a product of some kind, think about what kind of platform you're writing to, because they're not all created equal. And if you have a translation agency, I would almost say that's completely outside the polyglot world anyway. I mean, it's languages, but the people who are writing about learning languages, it's very
business
rare.
language, isn't it?
It's very rare that the content is about translation. And even then, there are so many translation agencies that I can't endorse one translation agency in January and then suddenly have a new one in February. You know, that doesn't make any sense. So if you're a translation agency, my suggestion would be to start your own blog and write about stuff instead of trying to get in on other platforms, because I could not fit it in. And so unless you have some kind of miracle guest post where it fits in, and then it becomes a little bit shady as well. It's like a translation agency writing about learning languages, and then the byline is like, yeah, we're a translation agency. It's kind of questionable, I would say. But anyway, that was just my little rant on apps and translation agencies, because I love people being innovative, but most language apps are crap. Really crap. And, you know, there are some great ones where they really put time, sweat, and tears into them. But there are also a lot where it's like, click on this picture and then it shows you the word. And, you know, I don't want people.
There's a lot that's travel-based as well, which is understandable. But I guess it's kind of, you know, a shame if you are looking to take it further.
I just think that a lot of apps they're not being innovative. They're just side grading, or maybe even they're taking something and they're making it worse. If you make a new flashcard app, I want to see some kind of innovation that makes it better than, let's say, Memrise or Anki. If you just make another flashcard app and it has another design and stuff, I would be very questionable of why did you spend all this time doing this? Why don't you spend the time working on an extension for existing platforms or something new and innovative? You know, don't just, I mean, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but at least invent something.
I feel the same way now at the minute about sort of productivity apps, where like, you know, because it's like I wrote actually this week on the blog about just a really simple time management. Forget the apps, just get yourself a weekly planner, write down with a pen and pencil exactly what you want to do each day. Because you can spend so much time like faffing around, like, this is going to make me more productive. It's like, no, you're going to spend 7 hours writing your to-do list. It's like, I don't need that. I don't need that. Yeah, absolutely.
It's totally procrastination. And it's funny you say that, because to-do list apps are one of the most, I mean, there must be hundreds of to-do list apps. And I'm like,
I have one and I like it and it works and that's it.
Yeah. And I'm like, you know, I respect people for trying to sort of cash in on obviously what's a big fad, but how can you reinvent a to-do list once one comprehensible app is out? I mean, how do you?
That's it.
How can you change it? So I mean, just for fun's sake, I just started using Todoist, and it does the job just fine. I mean, it syncs across all my devices, and it's a to-do list. You know, what can you say about it? I mean, so that's that. It's a perfect example. Yeah. So I wish if app developers out there listening, try to make something new and exciting. Don't just make the old boring stuff. You know, we don't need more flashcard apps, I think. That's just a personal opinion anyway. So with all that said, let's move into the next level. We keep going to the next level, which is amazing.
That's exciting.
So
playing Mario Brothers.
Yeah, for sure. The language learning duo, of course. So the next level, we just talked about how you started a whole new part of your business. And I'm sure a lot of people out there are very inspired by that because they see there are a lot of opportunities. And now you're sort of taking it a step further and you're producing your own content, as you mentioned a few moments ago. Can you talk about the process of going from, let's say, blogging and doing videos about language learning to suddenly actually offering your own products in the form of courses? And yeah, talk about the process of your courses as well. You started with an English course last year, right?
I did. So yeah, that's another very interesting sort of transition, I suppose, because you go from face-to-face to online, and then you go from that online by the hour to the sort of more passive side of things where you're reaching more students. And it is very interesting. It took me a long time because I knew that it was a part of my business I really wanted to build, and so I wanted to do it right. And I know we've said a lot today, you know, if you want to I can't remember what it was we said earlier. If you want to start a blog, it might have been just get started. And if you want to teach online talkie, just get started. But I felt with online courses, that was I didn't want to just get started. I wanted to do it right. And it took me a long time to find the right platform to host the courses. You know, do you go for like a plugin on your website? Do you go for hosting on a new platform? Do you go for hosting on something like Udemy or Udemy, however you want to say it, that takes a big percentage and is slightly pyramid-y in my opinion, but that's another story. And so, you know, there's all these choices of where to host, all these choices of what content to include and what content is most valuable, what do people most relate to and learn from, how much do you include, for what price, and it was a minefield. And it took me, I first had the idea for the English course, like the very first sort of light bulb moment, if you like, of, oh my goodness, this is going to revolutionize my business, this is going to change everything. In the summer, probably July 2000, and it's weird now because we're already in the next year, so July 2014. Okay, so I suppose not long after we spoke, I guess.
Yeah, we spoke in May. Yeah, so you had the idea for the course in July 2014.
Yeah, and I knew. Wow. And the thing was, I discovered I don't know how to say it, Udemy or Udemy, right? I discovered that. I was like, whoa, online courses, I can teach an online course. They're going to just host it. And like, what? This is amazing.
Yeah.
And I was very excited about this. And I'm like, well, what do I teach? There's so much I could teach. Oh my goodness, wow, where do I begin? And I thought, well, okay, let's focus in here, Lindsay, come on. I thought, well, I love to teach phrasal verbs. I wanted to do something English. I knew that. And I love to teach phrasal verbs. So that is going to be the topic of the first course. And I kind of started to draft, and then I was like, whoa, this is huge. This is a huge course. I don't just want to give people a list of phrasal verbs. Hey, here are all the phrasal verbs with break. Here are all the phrasal verbs that use the verb to be. You know, that's boring. Yeah. You know, what makes it special? And then it comes into that concept of, well, people can get a list of phrasal verbs for free. So why would they pay for this course? And I thought, oh my goodness, stories. Each lecture is going to be a story. And then it completely progressed. And there was all these, like, that was another sort of level of this little level, if you like. And then it was like, oh, what if the stories were related? Oh my goodness, mind blown, you know, and everything just kind of fell into place. So that was really fun. But I was also, when would that have been? Yeah, so then that was kind of the summer of 2014. I still had a lot going on. I was still teaching face-to-face and kind of online. So there was this duo pattern of lessons and of the blog where I never then had time to work on the course. It was always at the bottom of the list because I thought, well, I'm earning enough now. I don't need that now. This is my idea for the future. And then less than a year later, so in April 2015, like I said, my partner had been training to be a teacher. Then he found a job. Then we needed to move. So we first signed our very first paper on St. George's Day, I believe, the first paper of 2015, to buy our flat. And so that was another big change. So all of these things were happening alongside this little idea fizzling away of like, I'm going to build an online course. I'm going to build an online course. And that's why it took so long, because life. But then from there, so we moved in the April. No, I tell a lie. Sorry. We reserved the house in the April of last year. We moved in December because it was new, so it didn't exist. It was the scariest thing I think I've ever done. You know, like, yes, we're going to pay you all this money for this house that doesn't exist, and we've just seen on paper. Yes, absolutely. Very scary, but worth it. And so we moved in December, and then we had no internet. We had no floor, and so I couldn't. You know, the plan was 2 bedrooms. The second bedroom would be my office here, right here, and but we had nothing. There was nothing that I could do. So I was just like tearing my hair out, having to spend days waiting for people to come and fix stuff and all of this. Oh my goodness. And so it just took so long. And then it wasn't until April last year, April 2015. So no, wait, that's a lie. Wait, what year are we now? 2016.
16.
I'm getting my years wrong. I'm getting my years the wrong way around. So it must have been April 2014, sorry, when we signed the paper.
Yeah, that's in December.
And then December, April 2014, right. That's when we met, and I'd moved that week. And then, so April 2015, right, I'm getting this right now, that was when I filmed the videos. So I spent 2 days, I had this mammoth session. So I'd been writing them alongside all of this life stuff. I'd been writing these little stories, just like whenever I had 10 minutes, I would be sitting between lessons, like I mentioned, where I'd have a lesson, I'd have 10 minutes in the car, and then I'd have the next one. And I'd just be on my phone, like on Evernote, writing these stories, like frantically getting them down where and when I could. And then in April, I had all the stories, I was ready, and I filmed them. 2 days, I just went, boom, done.
Wow.
There we go. Everything was filmed. And then it took even longer to edit because there was so much kind of the graphics and stuff, you know, all the words. As soon as I say the verb in the story, it comes up on the screen. So you're getting this constant feed behind me and stuff like that, which I thought was really, really important with that type of course, you know. And then things like writing all the transcripts and putting all of the lists and the explanations and the worksheets together. And it's a huge course. There's so much in it. And that's why it took so long, and it was my first one. So like I said, deciding which platform to go with and everything like that. And I was actually very, very close to picking another platform, which I won't name because that's not fair. And I was thinking, okay, yeah, this is it. I'm going to invest in this platform. This is going to be the one. And then I discovered something else at the time called Fedora. Now it's called Teachable. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And actually it's just so easy. So that really, really sped up the whole process once all the material was ready. And I was then at that sort of point of like, where do we go now? Everything is ready. I just need to find somewhere to put it. And that made everything a lot easier at that point. So that came along very nicely. And yeah, so then the course was released in October last year. And now the next course, so bear in mind how long that took from July all the way to there. And then the next course is to be released in next Monday, the 1st of February.
Yeah, so
when it gets quicker.
Out, you know, in well, when people listen to this, the course will be out, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is good. And just if people want more information on the courses, I've made a little page on Actual Fluency, just with a few screenshots of what's going on and what you can expect. And we'll be including a little bonus there if people want to sign up through me. So that's actualfluency.com/Lindsay. And that's with an A. I guess that's
it's with all the letters that you wouldn't expect, basically. Right. L-I-N-D. There's a D in there. Who thought? Lindsay.
There you go. And that's why I'll collect all the information and sort of give people a little more, I guess, an extended preview of what you just said here, just so they can see for their own eyes what to expect. So wow, that's incredible. It's such a comprehensive course on phrasal verbs, and actually I didn't even think about phrasal verbs until you showed me this course, because for me it was just a part of learning. I mean, I never really consciously learned English, so for me I just sort of got
very naturally,
them.
didn't you?
Yeah, exactly. I just sort of got them. And actually during school I never heard the word phrasal verbs. So that was many years of schooling, and then I started to see people from countries that are really hungry for English, like Brazil, Russia. People are like, how do I learn phrasal verbs? I'm like, what do you mean?
What is a phrasal verb?
Why do you need to learn phrasal verbs? I mean, don't you just say them? I mean, what's to learn? And then I did a little bit of searching, and man, I found a lot of people looking for how to learn phrasal verbs. And so that explained the whole thing. And if you're learning English out there, and I know a lot of people are listening to this podcast as a practice for English listening, and I apologize in advance. But now you also have another way to improve your English, which is Lindsay's course, which you can find more information actually at lindsaydoeslanguages.com/Lindsay. We'll put together a little special bonus for you if you are interested in that. That's going to be amazing. I wanted to ask you about one final thing, and it seems like you're very productive. And this is a common trait of, I guess, the online entrepreneurs, the sort of people who make shit happen, basically. But how do you obtain a balanced lifestyle when you have so much going on? Because I mean, we're talking about producing stuff, teaching stuff, creating courses, creating videos, creating Instagram pictures, everything. And then on the side, you still have to actually learn some languages, because otherwise you're not Lindsay who's learning languages. You're suddenly Lindsay who's teaching languages, right? So, and also you have a relationship, you have family, your new house. And I mean, how on earth do you balance all this and still stay productive?
That's a very good question. I tell you, and this links actually a lot to the new course. The new course is called Successful Self-Study, and it's based on my degree. And my degree wasn't just a standard degree. I studied with the Open University, so it was 6 years part-time distance learning, which at the time I thought, yeah, it's fine, part-time, I'll be fine, when I first started. And over the years, I kind of got better and better each year with each course. I took 10 courses over the 6 years. I got better and better with each course at managing my time and getting things done, getting the assignments in on time. I always got them in on time, but at getting everything done better. And I think that was a big help. I started with that a couple of years before I started the business. So that was a big help from the start in terms of being organized and being ready and being productive, I guess, because I had this huge part of my life that had to be that way. Otherwise, I wasn't going to get my degree, and it was going to be a waste of time and effort and everything else. So I think that was a huge help, and that is why I created the course, because from there, it was like a springboard to the business, and then it was a springboard to learning languages on my own outside of the course, outside of that study. And I think they go very well hand in hand in terms of having your own business and having to be productive, and learning a language and having to be productive and manage your time effectively and set goals and everything like that. But how do I do it specifically? Good question. I think I'm quite disciplined. Have you heard of something? I've actually this week recorded a podcast with Kirsten on the Creative Language Learning podcast about something called the 4 tendencies. So there's someone called Gretchen Rubin who studies happiness and habits, is like her kind of thing. And so there's a thing called the 4 tendencies, and the one that I can't remember all of them and their specifics, but I'm the upholder when I took the quiz, right?
Oh, yeah.
So that means that I respond to both inner and outer expectations. So if you say to me, we're going to record the podcast at this time, I'm going to be there. If I say to myself, I'm going to do an hour of Japanese today, then I'm going to do it. That's just kind of in my head. But regardless of that, you could be one of the others. Like you could be a rebel, and a rebel, the characteristic of that would resist both. So they would resist the inner and outer expectation. So if you say to me, you need to be there to record the podcast at this time, I'm going to be like, wow, I need to find a a reason kind of not to be, to then, you know, you have to kind of work with that. So I feel like that's a big part of it, but also just lists are a huge part of it. To-do lists and kind of forward planning, knowing where I want to go, knowing where I'm headed and what I want to be doing in X number of days, months, weeks, years, whatever it might be. That's very beneficial. And setting good goals is helpful. Like now you can't see, it's kind of behind my computer, but my whole wall, I've got like all my like photos and arty stuff, and then I've got this thing here which is like kind of where I'm going, like my projection over the next few years in terms of business, because in the office, so this is all business now, languages in the other room, but then I've got like a month, like these big pieces of paper, like week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4 for January, of like what needs to happen each week. And it's that non-negotiable thing, right? Well, that blog is being published that week. That video is going out that week. That social media is happening that week. That webinar is happening that week. That's happening for the course that week. Each week is there, and it's big, and I can see it every single day. So that's very helpful.
Yeah, that sounds cool. The non-negotiable is one of the keywords for my 2016, and it's tough because I don't know which personality type this is, but I am very good at keeping external expectations, but I'm extremely bad at keeping my own.
Obliger.
Obliger.
Yeah.
Sounds true. You know, where I'll do above and beyond for everyone else, but for me, I can just be like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So it's funny. I have heard of Gretchen before. She was on the School of Greatness podcast, which I listen to occasionally, and she gave a little kind of a Cliff Notes version of what she's basically found out in the last many years of looking into happiness. And I don't like putting people into boxes like that, but it's interesting to at least hear the different versions, or you know, those personality types, because I think you can also be a little bit of everything, but you know,
I think there is some crossover, isn't there?
But you usually conform to your own kind of stereotype, or however you want to be seen, or however you see yourself, and what you believe is what becomes true, I think. So, you know, the programming yourself is an extremely big topic that I've looked into in the last year or two, and it's scary how much, I mean, what the mind can basically tell us of crap, and we'll believe it. And we need to really work towards changing that. There's so many limiting beliefs, and I mean, I don't know if it's just me, but you know, something like, how can I even have a website? I mean, I haven't learned any languages and stuff like that. You know, there's all these kind of doubts and feelings. And what I've definitely found out in the last 2 years is that a lot of it is just crap your mind is putting up in a defense, because you're challenging the status quo of your own life. You're sort of saying, I want more, I want better. And the people around you are saying, don't worry, just get a job and just have your mortgage and go out on the weekend, just have this. But a lot of the people who are listening to this podcast, they want a lot more, because it's so unusual to want to learn languages. And I just feel that mindset is just amazing. But man, are we good at putting up barriers to, I guess, our own success? Just, you know, how am I the servant of this, and how can I sell things? I mean, I don't know if you had that problem, but some people are very resistant to the idea of selling stuff, because they just don't. I mean, why would people buy my stuff? But the reality is, you're providing massive value, so that's why they should buy it, right?
Yeah, and it's you. Like, that's something else that's quite hard. It's like they're buying it because it's you. You know, like they want that information from you because they've read your blog, they've watched your video, they've downloaded your free content that you've given, and they're like, oh, I like this. I like the way this person shares this. And that's not going to be for everyone. Like, my course isn't going to be for everyone that wants to learn phrasal verbs. You know, someone else's course might be better for Jim, and Jim would not get my course. And, you know, that's absolutely fine, because you don't go to buy a new pair of trainers and see one pair in the shop and say, well, that's going to be the one. Right. You go there and you see the range of trainers and you think, wow, well, that one is nice and I can appreciate that it's nice, but it's not for me. that one I do not like, and that one I love. And you can, you know, it's the same thing, isn't it, with sort of selling and kind of promoting yourself, I guess. But it's hard to see it in that same way.
Promoting yourself is a whole nother difficult thing.
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh, I don't want to, you know, annoy my friends. Actually, for a long time, I would never share anything I have ever made on my personal Facebook page. I would never indicate anything. And it's a funny story. I don't know if we have time. We probably do. I was in university and I was doing nothing because I wasn't interested in it. I was doing an English degree. And, you know, one thing is speaking and enjoying English, but, you know, discussing the grammar and going back to classical literature, some people enjoy it. I think it's overanalyzed, but whatever. So I didn't enjoy it at all. And I just did the minimum. And doing the minimum is, you know, people notice that, right? They notice, oh, you're never in class unless it's attendance required. And then I would, apparently from the outside, I would never be doing anything. So one dinner or something, we had a little dinner club, 3 of my friends and I. So we would meet every few months and we would have a nice meal, some nice wine. And one of them suddenly, I think it was about a year into actual fluency, so about maybe 50 podcast episodes, maybe the same amount of blog posts. And one of them was like, I found your blog the other day. And he was like, why didn't you say anything? And I was just so kind of, I guess I was scared in a way of coming across as like self-indulgent in a way, or like sharing that with showing, or maybe I just knew deep inside I was gonna not keep doing it. I was gonna fail it because I always gave up on a lot of stuff back in the day. And I know a lot of people out there listening probably also gave up on a lot of stuff and they wish they hadn't. And I guess I was just expecting to fail, and I just didn't want to tell anyone, and I didn't want to seem as spammy, and I didn't want to share my own stuff and stuff like that. And luckily that mentality is changing now, but it's just another example of what you need to overcome as a new content producer. But
that's really interesting. I feel like you say about the being scared of failure and stuff, is you don't, it's not so much that you care yourself, I feel, because you feel like, well, then I just get up and start again. But then it's what will everyone else from the outside think? Oh, and it's a very big thing. I think everyone to some level definitely feels that. Yeah, you're right. The sort of the sort of marketing side, because then you begin to be marketing yourself, and it is difficult. It is difficult. Again, it's like when you work with the brands, it's like you want to get the balance. It's like, I'm still me and this is me, but this is something I want to offer you, and I need to offer it you well so that you will join me. So yeah, there's that side of things.
It's just funny that my friends, they thought I was completely lazy, just watching Netflix all day or whatever, and then they just randomly stumbled. They found the blog and they're like, "Wow, you're doing all this stuff." And you know, it's a tough concept to explain, but if you're really ambitious, then doing a little bit consistently is not very impressive, even though other people might think it is. So when they say, oh, you released 40 episodes of the podcast in a year, that's amazing. I'm like, yes, I'm very proud of that because I haven't done anything as consistently before. But I knew that the time it took to produce 40 episodes wasn't really that much. I mean, yeah, it's a couple of hours every week, but if you're really ambitious, you never accept things. You don't say, oh yeah, that was amazing, now I can just sit back and relax, you know. I was always like,
best way to be though, I think.
I hope so.
Keep looking forward, to keep growing, saying, okay, that's cool, that happened, what next? What next?
Because I hate when people say, and a lot of people do this to me, even some of my friends, they're like, take it easy, why do you have so big expectations of yourself, and why do you want to do all this, why don't you just take it easy and stuff? And I'm like, you don't become successful taking it easy. I mean, and that goes for everything. Like, how can you lose weight if you take it easy? Like, you know, you don't do that. And it's the same with learning a language. You know, you can do it over a long period of time. Language learning can be sort of you can spread it out, but to learn a language, you need consistent efforts, and that's not normal, and it's definitely not easy. So I'm just allergic to the word "take it easy," or like, why don't you relax a little bit? It's like, if people saw me, how
That makes
unproductive
me
I
more
was.
stressed when people say that to me. It makes me go, "Whoa," like riled up
Yeah,
inside. Just relax. No.
just relax. Why? I mean, it's
It's
like
like, I am relaxed. I was until you said just relax.
it's like they see you put out a podcast and a blog post every week, and they're like, "Oh my God, you must be working around the clock." I'm like, no. If I worked around the clock, I would have 7 blog posts a week and 2 podcast episodes, or 5.
And then I would be exhausted.
Then we can talk about relaxing. But that's the problem. I think that we live in society, and I don't know if this is particular for Denmark, but it's like if you try to do anything outside the norm, then people immediately try and shoot you down because they see you sort of emerging from the rat race in a way. So I don't know if that's a defense system from your peers in a way, because they're not doing it to be evil or anything. It's just natural to like, oh, he's doing something different. Why is he doing that? You know, why isn't he just going to university, just doing the same thing as all of us are doing? You know, and there's nothing wrong with that. I definitely think that for most people, and I would love to be able to do it, just have that life script, you know, where you get a good education, get a good job, and a nice family and a steady life. That's very nice. I just can't do it. I'm too all over the place. You know, I can't stay in the same job for more than, well, I mean, the job I have now is ridiculously flexible, so that helps. But if I had to work in the same office every day, just come in every day, commute, I would get bored of it after a year for sure. I mean, I am
Well,
location.
this is now like Lindsay Does Languages is the longest job I've ever had.
Nice.
The
Well, I
day.
can see we're kindred spirits in this then, and it's so nice to be able to make your own things happen. I'm looking forward to reaching that point myself with actual fluency, but it's going to take some time for sure.
And I think that's okay, you know. I think you can definitely you were saying about taking it easy, but I feel like on some level it's okay to sort of accept, like with the course when I was telling you about how I didn't want to just be like, boom, here we go, this is a course, it's presented on a really rubbish platform, and you know, but still enjoy. I really wanted it to be a good experience for a student, like to come and to actually be something enjoyable and whatever. So where was I going with this? So yeah, so I feel like sometimes it's okay to think, right, I want to build this sustainably, rather than just like, boom, in 1 month I'm going to be earning £1 million and it's going to happen and I'm going to completely burn out and die because you know. So I think it's okay to build something that is sustainable, but not necessarily take it easy. It's, you know, it's take it sustainably. Maybe that's the thing.
Well, yeah, I agree, and also it takes time to do to build up this kind of stuff. I mean, you didn't get followers on Twitter or YouTube by, you know, overnight. You know, this is a consistent effort, and
you can't just, you know, pump out 10 YouTube videos, upload them on the same day, 15 blog posts on the same day. Boom, here I am. Look, I exist now. Yeah. It's a growth. It's completely growth.
Exactly. And I guess the problem with the whole taking it easy part is if you are actually doing everything you can and you're really exerting yourself to the point of almost breaking point, then taking easy makes sense. But I think most people don't do that. I certainly don't. And I don't know if you do, but I think that's why it's so annoying, because I'm already taking it easy. I mean, this is me at 20% capacity. You should see me at 100, you know? So I think the idea is just long term, just stick to your plan and keep producing. I think production is the most important skill. I mean, you can do marketing all day, but production, if you don't produce anything, then
if you've got nothing to market.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
So that's what I'll do, and I hope that. No, not a hope. I don't like the word hope, but I know that it will lead me to good places in a year or two.
Yeah.
And I hope to share more of it. But for now, this has led us to the end of yet another episode. Sad.
Yeah, I was just about to start a new topic. I could go on for hours.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have to get back to the JOB in a few minutes. So there you go. But I just wanted to thank you for sharing all these business ideas with us, because it's a little bit different from the usual episodes, which is cool. Actually, it's funny. Last week, I talked to Keith Swain from Canada, and he's also a teacher. and we talked about how to do a teaching business. So it's funny that the topics are kind of thematic here.
Aligned.
But I hope that people out there listening or watching on YouTube, indeed, have been maybe inspired a little bit to go start their own. And I guess also it has to be said that you don't need to start a blog with the idea of becoming a full-time blogger to replace your job. You can very easily be a part-time online blogger that would just supplement your income. Or, I mean, honestly, part of the fun is just being out there and meeting people. And, you know, we talked about paid posts and stuff like that, but it's also fun just to get free language learning programs and, free tutoring, and people send you samples and stuff like that. I mean, if you can build up a platform where you get free language learning stuff part-time, isn't that the dream for a language learner?
That's a funny point. Yeah, but yeah, I think as well, it's the thing is with blogging is now it's become more, it's like a part of your business, whatever your language business is, whatever your language learning is, it can be a part of it. It doesn't have to be the soul, So
no, it doesn't have, and I don't think any blog is a business on its own. It's usually a marketing tool for
complementing,
right, for something else. And if you have a physical product or a subscription-based product, and you have a blog on the side, I mean, the blog is a great way of bringing in people. It's going to get shared if you write good stuff. I think the best example I've seen of this is CoSchedule, which is a scheduling tool. And they have one of the best marketing blogs in the world. They write ridiculously long, detailed blog posts with strategies on how to improve your blog. But their main business is selling a blog planning software. So the blog itself doesn't really make anything. It's about getting their name out there. So
yeah, because then how many people read the blog and then buy? So then you go that route, and then it's like, oh, the blog has made the money. So yeah, you have to think not directly of the blog needs to give me an income. The blog will feed
exactly
income. So
exactly, you can make some money with a blog for sure, but I think I mean, you're very dependent on a lot of sources. Like, for instance, Actual Fluency doesn't really have its own products or anything like that yet, but I will recommend other products like your courses. I recommend, and that pays a percentage. So in that sense, the blog does make money, but I mean, it's on a kind of slippery slope, because I don't know what you're going to do with your courses. I don't know if you say in 6 months, you know what, I've sold these enough. I'm bored with them, so I'm gonna close them down. I mean, I don't know what could happen, but I don't know.
Just by the way, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, like I said, I couldn't see a reason for that. But whenever you do stuff like that you send people off your own blog to do stuff, then you kind of on somebody else's, you're under somebody else's mercy in a way. I mean, I can't control how many people buy your course, but if I had my own course, I could optimize everything. I could, give everything I wanted to give. And I think that's where I'm going as well. I don't think about doing any phrasal verbs, so you'll be fine. Or self-studying anyway. But I hope to have my own products in a year or two. I don't know what it will be. I hope to write a book and stuff like that. So we'll see where it takes us. We'll see where it takes us. 2016. And thank you so much for sharing all this. It's been
It's okay. Thank you for inviting me on.
You're welcome. And just a reminder to everyone, if you want to check out Lindsay's courses, and right now it's an English phrasal verb course, the big one, which I'm still gobsmacked how much energy and time you put into that. And then the successful self-study. And you can find the information of both of those at actualfluency.com/Lindsay. And there's a bonus in it for you if you want to check it out. So I think that's just about it. And we'll see you in Berlin, I hope.
Yeah. Yes, I will be in Berlin. Yeah. There for a whole week this year.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so I think I'll be there for 4th to the 9th or something like that. I don't know.
I'm 3rd to the 10th. So
all right.
Yeah.
You want to do some touristing. Oh no, don't go to the bookshop the day before I arrive.
The bookshop?
Yeah, the bookshop.
Oh, I don't know.
You don't know the bookshop?
The bookshop, no.
There's should I say it? Okay, I'll say it. There's a little cafe in Berlin that sells books for €1 for all books.
Wow.
And they have a large foreign language section as well. So before every gathering, they have a lot of language books, and then after the gathering, not so many books. So
that's funny.
it's a great little shop. Sadly, I forgot what it's called, but I'll send you the link so you can go check it out. And we were learning different languages anyway, so we'll be fine.
Yeah, we're okay. Yeah, that's oh, that sounds fun. Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, see you in the future in Berlin.
Yes. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.
Interesting question. And I think that what I did when I was, 19 years old and even 18 years old learning Spanish, and what I do now is really quite different. I think that if I'm tackling a new language, I can do it fairly quickly now. The first language is the one that kills you. You work really hard because you're not just learning a language, you're learning how to learn languages. And then once you've got that, you say, sure, bring it on. Italian, Swahili, I know I can do it. Some will take a little longer than others. But what I do, for me, the reason that the connection with people is so important is because that's what motivates me to learn anything at all.